Your 5-year-old daughter comes home from school one day complaining about nausea. You don't really think much of it until it doesn't go away. And then you take her to the emergency room. No big deal until it is. This is Hope Stories. Welcome to Hope Stories. My name is Mitch Caloris. My guest today is Tiera Arterberry, the mother of Savannah Arterberry. Tiera, welcome.
Thank you.
So Savannah is your daughter, and when she was around 5 years old, around Christmas time, she started showing some symptoms. Tell us a little bit about how this all started.
So it was the Friday before Christmas in 2022. She just started getting sick. Like that whole week, she was kind of like nauseous. Her teacher kept calling me like, hey, she's going to throw up. Like, I need you to come and get her, or she's really tired. She goes to a charter school, and they have like a before and after school program. So they were calling me constantly, telling me like, she's not feeling good. She's really tired. We're not quite sure what's going on. So obviously I kept coming and picking her up. She'd be fine in the morning. I'd pick her up later. She was basically, the symptoms that she was having was like, she was throwing up. She couldn't go to the restroom. She wasn't eating or like drinking very much. And I just kind of felt like I was almost like shoving food down her throat, or water. Just please drink something so you don't get dehydrated or don't get sick. But I took her to the emergency room because her doctor's office they were so busy. They're like, we can't take any, patients right now. So we ended up going to like a quick care thing, and they checked her. They thought it was like her abdomen at first. They're like, no, it's not her abdomen. We think that it's just like a viral infection, something, she just caught, just kind of keep an eye on it, keep her hydrated.
So they sort of almost dismissed it as anything relatively serious.
Yes. Yeah. And so then once we did that, we're like, okay, well, we'll see what happens. It's the Friday before Christmas. I think Christmas was on Sunday or Monday that year. So we had Christmas, and Christmas is an amazing time for a child, especially at 5-6 years old. And she was trying her hardest to be excited, and I'm like, there's something wrong. Like, we couldn't figure it out. Finally, she just kind of started eating a little bit better, but still her stomach hurt. She kept saying.
Did she have any other symptoms other than, being tired and not eating? Did she have any sort of other physical?
So not at first. So after that, we ended up, it was January 1st. I took her to the ER. And they examined her, did some x-rays, and they basically said, she's constipated. And I'm like, this can cause, constipation can cause all of this, like not eating, not drinking,
Something doesn't sound right.
I'm like, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, we took x-rays, whatever. What we want you to do is to give her 5 capsules of Miralax in the next 24 hours. Yeah, 5 capsules.
Oh my God.
I'm like in my 5-year-old's little body. And at this time, she's getting ready to turn 6 because her birthday is January 14th. And I'm like, okay, we'll try this. And obviously it's on the first of the year. So no pharmacy was open except for like a couple of them. We end up getting some stuff to like do enemas and take care of her that way. So we did all that, and it was probably a couple days later, I realized like she's just so out of it. Like there's something wrong. She's just gray. She's dehydrated. Her stomach's still hurting. I mean, she's gone to the bathroom. She's taken this 5, capsules of Miralax. We ended up going to her pediatrician now. And once we went to her pediatrician, same thing. It's okay. Like nothing's wrong.
So at this point, something's happening with Savannah.
Yes.
Yet you're not getting any real answers. It feels like, everybody's sort of semi-dismissive over what's happening.
Yeah. I just felt like they just kept saying, it's constipation, it's constipation, it's constipation. And I'm like, I just don't think that can cause
So dismissive.
all of this. Yeah. So once we went back to the doctor, at this point, she's starting to feel like tingling in her fingers and her toes. And once that started, I was trying so hard to like think like it was something else. It could be something else. And because I don't know a lot about cancer or anything like that.
Sure.
I mean, and to think that your 5, 6-year-old daughter
probably
has
the
that
last
is
thing you
like
think
the
of, right?
last thing that I was thinking. But so my sister-in-law is a nurse, so I was calling her constantly, like, what is this new symptom? She's like, it's probably just this, not trying to dismiss it, but not trying to freak me out either.
Sure.
So I finally called her doctor. I'm like, there's something else wrong. Like now I'm starting to see this bump on the back of her head. I was brushing her hair one day and I pulled it up into a ponytail and it felt odd. I'm like, I don't ever remember feeling that bump there. So I called my husband over and I asked him, I said, can you feel this and see if I'm like out of my mind or like, is this normal? At first he was kind of like, it's normal. They're growing, we don't know what's going on, but we do need to get this checked out. So again, I made another appointment for the doctor. I explained this to him and he's like, okay, well, let's get an x-ray. So we finally get an x-ray. Now this point, I want to say her birthday had already passed. Like it's almost like the end of January because I was going to the doctor 1 to 2 days a week. Yeah. Just, what's going on. She's dehydrated and this and that. Mm-hmm. So we end up getting the x-ray. They come back and he's like, oh, it just looks like there's a bunch of fluid in her, in the pocket in her brain or whatever. Not quite sure what it is.
But without sort of a physical injury, right, which you would expect for something like that to happen, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and then her doctor, I kind of felt uncomfortable with what he told me after this, and he's like, I think that she may have like bumped her head on the playground at school, and she's afraid to tell you. And I'm like, I could understand that, but Savannah doesn't. She would make sure that she told me. Yeah. That's not something that she would just, Mom, I didn't hit my head, but she really did. Mm-hmm. She tells me everything. She tells me when she's uncomfortable about anything. A lot of things she tells me about. So he ended up telling me that I needed to go see a neurosurgeon. So he gives me a referral to this neurosurgeon. Mind you, that takes forever for the referral and insurance and all that. So I call the neurosurgeon's office trying to get an appointment. They're like, we're about 3 weeks out and I need your x-rays. So it's going to be like 4 to 5 weeks out because we have to have the x-rays. I'm like, can I go and get the images from the place that we had the x-rays and bring them to your office? Will that cut off any time? They're like, oh yeah, that'll cut off almost 3 weeks. I'm like, I will do it. I'll do whatever I need to do.
Absolutely.
So I went and I got the x-rays, took them there. It was about a week and a half. They called and said, the neurosurgeon wants you to get a CT scan before you can come in and see her. I'm like, okay. Well, her doctor did not want her to have a CT scan, even though that's what the x-ray tech had said, that it looks like she needs to get a CT scan so we can see a little bit further. He didn't want her to get the CT scan just because of the radiation and everything that it comes with. So he was waiting for the neurosurgeon. At that point, while we're waiting for the referrals and everything, I said, is there any way that we can do blood work? Can we just get a panel? I don't know of what. He's like, why do you want to put her through that? I'm like, something's wrong here and I really want to get to the bottom of it. And lab work is the one thing that I know can show us something while we're waiting for the referral for the CT scan. He's like, I suppose I can, get this for you. I just don't know if I want to put her through that. And at this point, I'm like, it's not putting her through this, that necessarily that I was worried about. I was more worried about figuring out what was going on so that we could take care of the problem.
So this has got to be somewhat frustrating at some level, right?
Yes, very
Because
frustrating.
you know you've been observing Savannah's condition over a period of weeks now, and something's obviously not right. You're going through all the proper steps to get her checked out, yet you still feel like we're not getting there fast enough, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's scheduling the next appointment and transferring the x-rays and scans and all that stuff. Now you have to actually suggest doing something else that the doctor hasn't, right? I mean, how difficult was that? I mean, was that
It was almost like fighting somebody to just help me is kind of how I felt.
Yeah.
I felt like I wasn't being heard as a mom. Like, I know you're a doctor and I have been coming to you since she was a baby. But I felt like I literally was not being heard. And a lot of times moms know, I mean, just from experience, know when there's something wrong.
They sure do.
And I felt like I just felt like I was not being heard at all. Not even a little bit. After the multiple, doctor visits and then waiting on referrals, and I had the referral for her lab work in my purse. We were just waiting for her appointment to go get it done, because you have to make an appointment with Quest and all that. At that point, we woke up. It was a Sunday morning. She started throwing up again. And I just looked at my husband and I said, I'm sorry, but I'm taking her in. I'm going to the emergency room for now. I believe it was like a second or third time. And I'm like, I'm not leaving without a CT scan and some answers. He's like, okay, like, I trust you, the night before, I forgot a little part. There was a part in there where I was holding her and she was just so gray and so limp, and she was just constantly crying about how bad her back and her legs were hurting. And I'm like, how does constipation and, being so dehydrated cause this?
Yeah, there's something wrong, clearly, right?
Yeah, and her doctor's not listening to me. We're still waiting for the CT scan, and now this had been 3 weeks for the CT scan. And then the next morning when I woke up, she started throwing up again.
That's got to be just agonizing to go through something like this, where the waiting part, right? Because every day, you're saying, okay, we have to wait 2 weeks or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And every day is just another, are we there yet? Are we there yet? I mean, how was it to deal with that, just the waiting part?
It was miserable, because I'm constantly writing down another symptom that she's getting or another thing that she's getting, and everybody's just like, it's just because she's he dismissed the numbness in her fingers and her legs and then her back pain because of the way she would sit to hold her tablet to do her homework or anything like that. And I'm like, I don't think, there's not a child that I know that's going to say my hands are going numb and start moving and then they're fine.
It's just not, it doesn't happen.
Right. Especially at 5, she was so in tune with her body and letting me know every little thing that was going on. I mean, I was also questioning her every 5 minutes, but.
So going through this, you and your husband's experience on the one hand is one thing. How is Savannah dealing with this during this whole time?
I mean, she was a trooper. She was just, I'm just in pain, Mom. She would cry sometimes. I'm like, I'm doing everything that I can. I don't know what else to do. And I just had told my husband that morning when she's like, I can't move and I can't do this. And she's throwing up again. And I just told him, I'm like, we are going to the emergency room. I need you to stay here with Sammy, our littlest. I'm taking her in. I went into the emergency room. We didn't wait too long. We got in fairly quickly because it's probably about 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. And finally we got in. They ended up giving her an IV, gave her some fluids because she was dehydrated. They checked her labs. They said a couple things were a little off, and then they ended up listening to me when I told them I'm not leaving until I get a CT scan. Like, she has to have a CT scan. I'm waiting for a referral from her, from our insurance to approve from her doctor, but I can't wait any longer. There's something seriously wrong, and I'm explaining that to the nurse, like everything that's going on. And they were like, we have to have probable cause to do a CT scan, especially with like the contrast and everything that we have to use. And I'm like, well, does the bump on the back of her head, you know, will that be probable cause to, you know, give her a CT scan? Mm-hmm. They're like, well, we can't do a full body CT scan, but we can just do one of her head then. And I was like, okay. So it took a few hours. Then they finally ended up getting her in to do the CT scan. We were in the room maybe 30 minutes, or not 30 minutes, 30 seconds. And they came in rushing her back to the CT scan. And they're like, we have to do a full body CT scan. And I was like, I told you.
Yeah.
You know, almost like, just somebody please listen to me.
Yep.
And once they did that, they came back in and they're like, a doctor will be in shortly to talk to you. And I'm like, oh, great. Like, this is not good. Like, I could just feel everybody's like panic.
What kind of goes through your head at that time? You know, you haven't got a diagnosis obviously yet, but, you know, I got to think there's a sinking feeling, right? Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
The worst feeling in the world. Just like the not knowing. Sometimes like the not knowing is worse than the knowing. Once I kind of like gathered myself, obviously, because she was in the room. I couldn't get upset about something that I had no idea what was going on to get her upset. Just praying and hoping for the best and not the worst. Maybe like I was over exaggerating or something. But the way that the doctors and nurses were like kind of panicking about the second CT scan, I knew there was something. Then
the level of urgency went way up.
Yes. Within, I want to say it was within an hour, Dr. Wasim came in and he's like, I need to talk to you out in the room. I'm like, who is this guy? Like, I mean, obviously he was a doctor, but he's like, I'm an oncology doctor. And as soon as he said oncology, I'm like, I'm sure my face went white. And I just, like, everything was like a blur after that, except for the fact, like, they're gonna, like, he was planning on sending her to Utah, to life flight her to Utah and have surgery right then and there. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, nobody's listening to me to now all of a sudden life flighting her to Utah. I was so confused. I didn't know what to do.
So you were in the ER, mm-hmm. Just with Savannah, and your husband was home?
He was home with my little one, yeah.
Uh-huh. So how did you contact him, and how did that message go?
I called him and I told him, I don't know still at this point exactly what is going on, or like, I just knew she had some type of a tumor that was taking over her body is basically all we had. We didn't know if it was like cancerous or what exactly was going on. So when I called him, I just told him, I said, I need you to take Sammy over to my dad's and I need you here. And he knew right then and there that something was wrong. And I just told him, like, I need you to pack a bag because we're probably going to be life flighted to Utah. And he's like, what? And I was like, I have no idea what's going on. I just know that she's got some type of tumor that's spreading, like, uncontrollably. And they need to do a biopsy and figure out what's going on. And they're hoping that the doctor in Utah, once they get a hold of that doctor in Utah, to see if they can do that surgery tonight or tomorrow morning, we'll be there. And my husband's like, oh, I'm on my way. And, you know, my dad's like, just bring Sammy over and we'll take care of her. So, yeah.
So you go to Utah.
We actually didn't end up going to Utah.
What
No.
happened?
So the doctor that was in Utah, he said that it looks like it's neuroblastoma, but we are not 100% sure. They wanted to go in to do a biopsy here before they started like rushing us everywhere. And he said that he would not be able to work on it because of the tumor being wrapped around a major artery in her leg. But because it was wrapped around her artery and like in her, basically coming out of her spine and wrapped around an artery and part of her kidney, he's like, I can't do any surgery on it until we can shrink it. So let's do a biopsy. They ended up, now this is Sunday night. They end up doing the biopsy on Monday here. And then once they did the biopsy here, the surgeon in Utah had said, I want you to do, once they figured out what it was, I want you to do 5 doses of chemo. We'll do scans after the 5 doses of chemo, and then we'll look at it again.
And so her diagnosis was what?
The neuroblastoma stage 4, metastatic neuroblastoma stage 4.
So chemotherapy starts, right? Then what? Radiation
It started
therapy,
that Friday.
immunotherapy.
So she did 5 doses of radiation, or not radiation, I'm sorry, 5 doses of chemo. They did her scans at 4, I think it was only 4 chemos that they had done. They did her scans before the 5th one. And the doctor's like, I want her to have one more radiation or one more chemo before she comes down here for surgery. So during those 5 chemos, she ended up getting her stem cells on the second one removed and then cleaned so that they could give them back to her later on. We ended up in July of that year, so she had 5 rounds of chemo. We ended up going in July, actually it was June. We went in June to Utah to see her surgeon, the surgeon that we had been talking to, and he ended up doing like a 6.5-hour surgery and removed as much of the cancer that he could. He never had to go into her brain, like she never had to have brain surgery or anything like that because the tumor in the back of her head had shrunk so much that he's like, once she gets through all of the chemo, we're hoping that it will be completely gone. She had 2 major tumors in her brain, one in the back of her head and then one right behind her left eye. And then she had a little bit of multiple throughout her head. And then when he did the surgery, he took out the big mass that was attached to her spine. I think she had 2 golf-sized ones down here that he took out, and then there was another one up in her chest that he had taken out also. And he said he removed about 95% of it. He didn't go into her spine because obviously he was afraid of going into her spine and could paralyze her or anything like that. But he had gotten all of it, and they didn't have to take any of her kidneys or anything like that because we were also afraid of it being wrapped around one of the kidneys, that it wouldn't let the kidney go. Like when he tried to take it off, and her kidney, it just kind of let go of her kidney, and she just, he's like, it's the best outcome I could have ever hoped for.
What goes through your mind when you're going through all these major surgeries? You're obviously, very worried and concerned. What goes through your mind as Savannah is going into the ER for all these surgeries?
I just kept praying that he wouldn't take my baby away. She made it through. That I could watch her grow up with her little sister. I always wanted a little sister or a big sister, and my girls had that, and I just did not want her to not have her sister.
How did Savannah, how is she doing during this time? I mean, obviously there's a lot going on, a lot she doesn't understand. All she knows is she doesn't feel well. How is she handling it?
At this point, we didn't quite tell her exactly what could have happened. We just kind of told her, we've got to get this out of you. And this is unfortunately the processes that we have to go through. She would have good days and bad days. Sometimes she even still will cry to me and be like, why can't I just be a normal kid? Why can't I go play with my friends? Why do I have to wear a mask? Why am I in so much pain? I don't want to go to the hospital because every time I go to the hospital, I get sick. She loved going to the hospital to see all of her nurses and her doctor and the dogs. But the hardest part was that she just didn't understand why she had to get sick every time she went.
So she's gone through all these major surgeries, successful, which was great.
Absolutely.
Where did it go from there? So how old is she now? Where are we on the timeline in terms of
So
dates?
once she had her surgery, it was July of 2023. We ended up, I have all my family is in Utah. So we ended up staying with my grandma and then my cousin. My cousin has a farm, and if it wasn't for her and the farm, I don't think Savannah would have fought so hard. She just had like a reason to like wake up every morning, to go outside and feed the horses, to play with the dogs. So it was July, and we ended up staying up there for 5 weeks. We were there for 5 weeks. Her doctor, we ended up going into her doctor to get her drain tube out after like 2 weeks. And it wasn't the doctor that did her surgery, but he was his partner. And it was so funny. Savannah's standing there, and he's like, let me take the drain tube out. And it kind of like was pulling a little bit. And Savannah goes, can I just take it out? And he's like, your body, you could do it. Go ahead. And
Wow.
She just grabbed it and just kind of, it was the weirdest thing because I'm like, oh gosh, no, thank you.
Savannah's a lot more brave than I would be.
Yes, definitely. Wow. But yep, she just pulled it out, and he's like, I have never had a patient take out their own drain tube. She's like, I got this.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just like, oh my gosh. But after that, we went on our 3-week visit after that, and he's like, you guys are more than welcome to go home.
Wow. So how long was it all together?
We were there for 5 total weeks.
5 weeks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So she's going through all this treatment. She went through all these surgeries. What was, what happened after that?
So after that,
she came home.
After that, I thought we had already been through the hardest part. But after that, we came home. They ended up doing CT scans and MRI and another MIBG just to make sure to see what they had. They told me, well, the one behind her eye is not getting the chemo. The reason being is because it's behind the eye, so the blood vessels and the veins and stuff are not getting to that particular spot. So they're, and the one in her spine, the doctor couldn't go in and scrape it out or anything like that. So they're like, we have to do 2 rounds of high dose chemo. And when we do these two rounds of high dose chemo, we're going to give her stem cells back both times. I'm like, okay, what we've already been through is hard. So I'm like thinking, okay, it's going to be like that. No, it was 10 times harder than that. She ended up getting the high dose chemo. And the first round of the high dose chemo, you're not allowed to touch them like skin to skin, like or even my shirt touch her skin. I had to gown up anytime I was around her. gloves, everything. Just seeing your baby, like, throw up and in so much pain, constantly crying because of how much pain she was in, and not being able to just hold her and, like, feel her. It was miserable. I felt like I was failing because I just couldn't, like, squeeze my baby. We had to give her a bath every 6 hours. So when she would fall asleep and then I'd have to wake her up, it was just, you get woken up when you don't feel good, you're going to fight it. So I would have to, give her a bath every 6 hours for 5 days. But once that fifth day, I was like, I'm just ripping this stuff off. I don't care anymore. Like, I just want to hold my baby. And it was like, I think 2 hours before I could, like, touch her. And then the nurse is like, if you want to do it, then you can. Because I'm like, I can't wait any longer. Like, I just need to touch her. But I think that was probably the hardest one that we had to go through, the chemo-wise. But once the high-dose chemo starts and then you start getting your stem cells back, her body just was, like, shutting down. She had mouth sores. She's just constant nosebleeds. I felt like we could not get her nose to stop bleeding. Wow. She had over, that hospital stay, we were there for 29 days. And she had over 17 transfusions with blood, platelets. I mean, everything you could think of.
And was this here in Las Vegas, or?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we did this here. Mm-hmm. I want to say we were in there for 29 days, and then once she finally, like, she was on TPN, she wasn't eating because of all of the mouth sores. It took us about a week and a half to get her off of the TPN. Once we got her off of that and she started eating, it was just so hard to get her to eat anything because nothing tastes good, and I felt like every single time she would get another chemo treatment, whether it was high dose or low dose, her entire, like, taste buds would change. So trying to find out, like, oh, she liked this and now she doesn't, or she liked that and now she doesn't, and it was so hard to just try to get her to eat something. We would constantly be getting, like, snacks or just to try to keep her belly full so that she would just get something. But finally her doctor was like, I think she just needs to go home. She'll start eating a little bit better at home. Obviously, if she doesn't, you call me. And
did she?
Once we got home, it took about a day to sometimes 2 days for her to start eating a little bit better. But I think a lot of it was, like, sitting at the table with us and, like, watching her sister eat. And at that point, it was like, I have a 2-year-old and I have a 6-year-old. And I'm letting my 6-year-old eat whatever she wants because that's the only way I could get her to eat. My 2-year-old's like, well, I'm going to eat whatever I want because I need, Sissy's eating whatever she wants. So that was hard to try to, like, switch that. We still have a little bit of a problem with that, especially with my little one. She's like, but I don't want that. I'm like, well, but, so we were home. I want to say we were home for a week, and then we had to go maybe 7 days, and then we had to go back in to do another high dose chemo.
So you're in now for the next high dose chemo. How long did that happen? How long did that take? So
we were there. I want to say it was like 25 days. Okay. Her doctor wanted to send her home a little bit earlier just because she's doing really good. I'll never forget, that time she had really bad, she was, like, getting, like, a little cough. So we were on isolation. And I was terrified that they were going to make us go down to the 5th floor because she had just had this high dose chemo. And if we go down to the 5th floor, there's a possibility of her getting sick from something else, or, sepsis and fevers were not my friend. They were the worst. They were the enemy. But so this time that I'm going to tell you. We were sitting in the room, and my boss was letting me work from home, so I was working on my computer, and she was just playing, and I looked at her, and she looked at me, and her nose just, like, whoosh, blood everywhere.
Oh, my God. You're kidding me.
No. And Dr. Wasim was outside the door. You know, he was typing up his notes, and I just started screaming. And I grabbed a towel, and I said, hold your nose. And I ran out the door, and I just was like, somebody please help me. I don't know what's going on. And at this point, like, I had no idea what was going on. Didn't know. All this blood
And what happened?
She was just sitting there. Because of her low platelets, you will bleed when you have, like, no platelets.
What did this staff do, Dr. Wasim?
So Dr. Wasim came in, and I've never seen her nose, like, stop bleeding that fast. He just came in, and he's like, did some weird thing with her nose, and he's like, hold it, do this, do that, and, like, put medicine in her nose. And I'm like, wow. Oh my gosh. I mean, we had a bucket, like one of the throw up buckets with tissue, blood, like rags. It was full. And I'm just like, what in the heck just happened?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, obviously this was like within an hour or 30 minutes to an hour, but I will never forget that, like, feeling of, like, just not knowing what to do and just blood.
How was Savannah, you know, taking all this? I mean, obviously.
She was fine. At that point, she was kind of still, she kind of plays a little hard to get, especially with Dr. Wasim. She plays shy. And then at this point, she was still being a little shy with him. And once he fixed her nose and got it to stop bleeding, the nurse was like, do you want mommy to put the medicine in your nose? And she's like, nope, I want Dr. Wasim to put it in my nose. And I was like, okay, well, he looked at me, he's like, she's warming up to me. I was like, well, it's about time, huh?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
And then after that, it was fun and games with him. But I want to say we were in the hospital for 25 days that time. 25
days. Now, was that the last round, or?
So that was the last round of the high-dose chemo.
Okay.
So we went home, and I want to say we were home for maybe 6 weeks. We ended up scheduling her radiation in Utah. That was for 3 weeks that we were going to be there. So Dr. Wasim's like, let's give it a little bit of a break because she's had a lot of high-dose chemo. Let's let her kind of get, back to normal.
Yeah.
Just enjoy a little bit of a kid time, at home. So I was like, okay, that's fine, cool. It was amazing just being able to be home with both of my girls, my husband, myself. We ended up going to Utah. We were there for 3 weeks, and she had 12 rounds of radiation. She had the radiation on the one on her brain behind her eye, and then her spine is where they did the radiation. So she had to, unfortunately, be sedated every single day. And that was really hard on me and my husband, because only one parent could be in there. It was amazing, though, that they let us be in there and they let us hold her until she was completely out, and then we put her on the table. But I think the hardest part was, like, the parent that was out having to listen to it, because you could hear her screaming because she could feel the medicine and she could feel that she was getting tired. And she said that it hurt, but I think it was more of, like, the unknown, like, what's going to happen now that I'm asleep type of thing. But that was the hardest part. I mean, one, seeing her have to be put to sleep every day, and then 2, having to be out there and not be able to be with her and hearing, what was going on. So that was hard for 12 straight days. But we did it right around Thanksgiving. So then that way her last one, I want to say, was Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So then that way we could finish our trip and have a good trip.
So this is late 2023 now.
That is late 2023, yes.
So we're almost a year into it now, right? From when you first kind of realized that something was going on, and
Mm-hmm.
you know that happened right before Christmas of the previous year.
Yep.
So now you're a whole year into it. You've gone through all of these surgeries, all this chemotherapy, all this radiation. Where did you go from there?
After that, I ended up asking Dr. Wasim, like once we came back, I said, can we have like just a small little break? Because we were getting ready to do 6 months of immunotherapy because she still was not cancer free at this point. I asked him, I said, can we just have like 1 more week extra break so then that way she could celebrate her birthday with all of her friends. We didn't have to worry about her getting sick too much. And we had a huge 7th birthday. It was awesome. We had it at my girlfriend's house. She let us do like a surprise party for Savannah. She told me, she's like, I didn't know I was going to get a birthday this year. And I was like, well, absolutely. Like, you know, she's like, I just didn't know I was going to be able to see all my friends because we had kept her away from everybody for so long. And, you know, it had been a year and she's in 1st grade. All of her kindergarten friends came. Her principal came. Her teachers came. All of our friends, everybody that had helped, you know, family flew in. It was amazing to feel and see her surprised face.
You know, this is what a lot of people don't realize. When kids go through something like this, they're really, really isolated, right? They're isolated from family at some level. They're isolated from all their friends. They can't play. They don't go to school, right? And it's very, very difficult. People forget that part of it.
Yeah.
How did she handle that?
It was really hard. There was nights that she would just cry, and she's like, I just want to see my friend. I just want to talk to Aaron. I just wish I could see Zoe and Carson. Because anytime if anybody had like a cold or was sick or anything like that, we're like, unfortunately, I'm sorry, we can't. And they were very understandable, you know, hey, we've got the sniffles, but we don't know if it's anything, so we're going to stay away, you know, even though we had plans. We couldn't go to the movies, I felt like we couldn't go bowling, we couldn't do anything because it was like everything has germs. Everywhere there's germs.
And she's immunocompromised, right?
Yeah,
So
and most of the time she was neutropenic.
Yep.
Yeah.
So fast forward a little bit now, I'm guessing you're now past Christmas, right, in 2023, and now is it immunotherapy?
So January 14th was her birthday, and I think we had her birthday party on like the 15th maybe, something like that. And right after that, the very next week, she went in to do her first immunotherapy.
And how did that go?
The first one was good. It wasn't too bad. The second one, she would get fevers every single time. The second one, she ended up getting, I think it was the second it was the second one. She ended up getting C. diff really bad because of all of the medication that she had. So then we were on isolation for, I think it was 90 days that we had to be in isolation at the hospital. So she was just basically, you know, the last little stretch of her thing, she was isolated in her room and it was just me and her, you know. My husband could come up, but if anybody came in the room, we had to stay in the room. So that was really hard. One thing that I do want to go backwards a little bit.
Sure.
When we first got diagnosed, they were on like a COVID lockdown type thing at the hospital. And it was the worst because not being able to have my little one come and see her sister, knowing like after what we just had went through, it was terrible. Like the doctors would allow us to sometimes sneak Savannah off the floor. Like we'd still be on the floor, but in the waiting room outside of the doors just to like give her sister a little hug for 5 seconds and then come back. Wow. That was really hard to see. That nobody could come in if you were under the age of 18. And at the time, my nephew and her were very, very close too. So that was hard that she couldn't see them.
So the immunotherapy now, you said was 6 months, you said?
Yeah, so we had to do 5 rounds in the hospital and then 1 at home.
And so that wrapped sometime in the second half of 2023 then?
It was July 2023. So it's been 1 year.
Tell us how that happened.
So the first one went good, minus the shots. We had to give her shots every single day for 14 days. And then during that time, she would end up in the hospital for the immunotherapy part. It was about 5 days that she would be for the immunotherapy, but we would always end up staying about 10 days because she would get a really bad fever. Her fever would just linger and linger and linger. So once the fever would go away and her blood pressure came down, we were okay to go home. So we'd go home for a few weeks and then come back and start it all over again. Like I said, the second time she ended up getting C. diff really bad. So we were on isolation, and she had a little friend that was in the next room, Hayden. We ended up meeting his mom, I want to say just before we ended up going to radiation. But she just fell in love with this little boy, and they're the same age. They're the cutest things together. We see them every weekend, even still to this day. They live about 4 miles down the street. But it's that, I think, was what helped me keep going, was finding the moms that were going through the same thing. So I wasn't going through this alone. Us always like picking each other up or bringing each other things to get through it. I think that's what made some of us moms in the hospital get through that.
So let's fast forward to when was she declared cancer-free?
So in April of 2023, she ended up getting, I want to say it was off isolation. She was just barely off isolation or getting ready to be off isolation. And we had scans, and we're like, okay, what's going on with the scans? What's going on with the scans? And finally, I just emailed Dr. Seema. I was like, I need to know what's going on with the scans, because all the doctors were like, once Dr. Wasim comes in, I'll have him call you. Like, I'll have him tell you. And I kind of was like, okay, are they waiting for him to tell me because she is cancer-free, or are they waiting for him to tell me because something else has come up?
Right.
So I'm like, you have to tell me. Like, just, I'm sorry, but please tell me. And he's like, she's cancer-free. She's in remission. And I cried so hard reading that email. And Savannah just looked at me. She's like, what's wrong, Mom? I'm like, can you read your doctor's email? And she's like, what does that mean? I'm in remission. Like, what does that mean? And so I told her, and she just started crying. And she just kept saying, thank you, Mom. Thank you, Mom. I couldn't have done it without you. And that's when I knew, like, this was all worth it. Like, everything that we had gone through, all the pain, all the late nights, it was finally paying off. And that was amazing. The amazing feeling.
So that date has to be etched completely in your mind forever. What was that date?
April 16th.
2023.
Yes.
Right. So then, so she's in remission, she's feeling much better. Mm-hmm. Then she gets to ring the no more chemo bell one of these days, right?
Well, so then she still had to finish her immunotherapy.
Okay.
She still had 2 more immunotherapies that she had to complete.
Okay.
And then May 10th of 2023, she rang the hospital no more chemo bell. Or no more hospital chemo is what they call it. So she rang that bell, and that was a Friday. And the very next Monday, her buddy Hayden ended up ringing his bell
Really?
for the hospital.
Oh
Yep.
my gosh, that's awesome.
Yep. And then we still had to do a little bit of the pills and stuff at home. So we finished that at home. And then it was 2023, July 2023, she was completed. So it was an amazing feeling.
So you've been through so much there, and obviously Savannah has too, more than anybody. What advice do you have for parents that are facing this in the early stages, knowing now all the things you know, all of the emotions you went through, all of the ups and downs? Talk a little bit about how other parents can deal with something like this.
So my first feeling when I got told that she was had neuroblastoma stage 4, I literally felt like she had a death sentence. But I was not going to give up. I fought for her to be here, and I fought for her to stay here. Me and my husband had a really hard time getting pregnant and keeping babies, and she was my first that we were able to keep. My advice would be just don't give up. Days are going to be really hard, very long, and sometimes they seem like they're just never going to end. But eventually they will. And just don't give up on your babies. Fight for them. I definitely had to feel like I had to advocate for her through a lot. And I've had a lot of moms come and tell me that they felt like they've had to advocate for certain things. Like, just as an example, one thing that I had to advocate for Savannah was when she would get her port placed, or not placed, but accessed. Just little things that I would have to tell like the nurses, like this is how she likes it, this is how she likes it done, this is what has to happen. Just make sure that you pay attention to your child and their needs and what they want. We put her through therapy, so I would definitely recommend you and your child doing therapy. It's helped me tremendously. And I know that it's helped her a lot too, going through therapy, just talking through the emotions, the feelings, because sometimes you just feel like you can't go any farther. Like you just, what's the word? Like you just, it's too hard to go. And how are you going to get through the next day? And it's just basically sometimes days, it'll be you'll go through days over days over days. And if you just take 1 minute at a time, not 1 day at a time, I would definitely recommend to just 1 moment, 1 minute, 1 hour, take it. And then also those people that are going to give you help, make sure you take it. Sometimes you need, I'm not saying like necessarily self-care as far as like going and getting massages and stuff like that, but you definitely need to take care of yourself because you can't take care of babies if you don't take care of yourself.
So as we wrap here, tell me a little bit about how Savannah's done since she was declared cancer-free.
She has come so far. In the beginning, it was very hard. Like sometimes I would have to hold her down, unfortunately, to get her access to. Now it takes 30 seconds for them to give her an IV and she's in, out, like, let's go play. And
that's great.
If you just work with them, you do the therapy, do stuff like that. Like she's come so far because of it. So far. They've taught me things on how to take care of her. Like Mrs. Sue, Danielle at the hospital, she's not there anymore, but they all had taught me certain ways to talk to her, use certain words instead of like, I'm going to have to hold you down. Like, do you want helping hands? it's more of like a subtle way of telling them,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
But she has come so far with listening to her body, listening to me. If she feels the slightest thing wrong with herself, her body, she will tell me, we'll talk about it. You know, I mean, she just comes so far.
And so she's back in school. She's playing with her friends.
Yes. She's back in school.
She's going to birthday parties and swimming and
yeah, she's
fun.
back in school playing with her friends. Papa had just got his swimming pool done last year.
Oh boy.
So she's like, Papa's pool, let's go to Papa's pool, always. And all of her friends, and she's getting back up to her reading level. She did a book challenge this summer where she's going to read 80 books. And
80 books?
80 books.
80 books. That's a lot of books.
And she's at 69 right now.
Wow.
So she's only got, I think she's got like 2.5 weeks left.
I'm just curious, what kind of books does she like to read? What does she like to
So our goal this year was to get her from reading like the little books, like that, you know, some of the books will take her 30 minutes, some of the books will take her 10, some 5, whatever.
Yeah.
To reading chapter books, and not like big chapter books, but just, you know, 3rd grade level chapter books.
Well, what kind of subjects is she into?
Her favorite subject, she likes math.
Oh.
So she says she's not a huge fan of reading, but I think it's more of like a confidence thing, you know, and then not being in school for, you know, 1.5 years, because she missed 1.5 years. She missed half of kindergarten and then the whole 1st grade. She's a little bit behind on her reading, so that's why we decided to do this book challenge. But she likes to read like How to Catch the Dinosaur, How to Catch a Unicorn. She's been reading a lot of those. Right now we're doing Bernstein Bears. Oh, there's a couple other like older ones, Fancy
classics.
Nancy. Yeah. I'm like, these are all the books that I used to read when I was little. I love these.
Yeah, my kids did too, for sure.
So she's into those right now, and then we started getting into like the little chapter books. She likes these mermaid, I think it's like Emily, I can't remember the last name of the author, but they're little chapter mermaid books, and she just loves them. Okay,
so let's fast forward to March of 2025. It's a big day for Savannah. Tell me about it.
She got to ring the bell.
At Cure for the Kids Foundation?
At Cure for the Kids, and it was amazing. Just like the feeling, all of her family being there and just watching her ring that bell. And she made sure that she rang that bell pretty hard too.
She sure did.
It was just the most amazing feeling.
And not that would be enough of a most amazing feeling, but then it got even better in early May of 2025, where she got to get on stage at Cure for the Kids' annual fundraiser called Circus Couture. And what happened there?
I was surprised that she said that she was going to do it.
She rang the bell in front of like 1,000 people,
yes.
right? I mean, it was pretty good.
Yes. She just told Dr. Wasim in the behind the curtains, he goes, I'm going to spin you out there. Is that okay? And she goes, don't spin me. And she looked at me and she goes, I don't want to fall in front of all those people. I was like, I am surprised that you're going out there. I'm so proud of her. If this would have been 2 years ago, there's no way that she would have went out there. There's no way that she would have even went out there without me.
I remember the moments leading up to that, and actually more than moments, but you were waiting patiently with Savannah, with Sue, Miss Sue from Cure for the Kids, for, you know, where to go and all that kind of stuff, waiting patiently. You're all ready to go. But it was Savannah, Miss Sue, and Dr. Wasim on stage, right? And she rang the bell. That's just awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
It was an amazing feeling. It was also amazing to see like all the friends that we have made, the nurses, the doctors, you guys, to be there and witness that on stage with her at such an amazing event. And then also my entire work almost everybody was there
All your work colleagues?
Yep.
Really?
My boss, all three of my bosses were there, and they all got to see that, and it was a surreal moment.
Yeah. It was really special for all of us,
Yes.
believe me. Yeah. That was awesome.
It was amazing. The feeling, I can't even describe the feeling. But I'm so proud of her.
Well, we are too, absolutely. It was great to talk to you. Great to hear your story and Savannah's story and your journey. We're so happy for you.
Thank you.
And we really appreciate you coming in today to tell your story to all the viewers on Hope Stories. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me share her story.
That's been another edition of Hope Stories. I'm your host, Mitch Kaloris. Come back next time, and remember, hope lives here.